นะโมตัสสะภะคะวะโตอะระหะโตสัมมาสัมพุทธัสสะนะโมตัสสะภะคะวะโตอะระหะโตสัมมาสัมพุทธัสสะนะโมตัสสะภะคะวะโตอะระหะโตสัมมาสัมพุทธัสสะพุทธังธัมมังสังฆังนะมาสามิ
And in early days of practice, we can spend many hours doing formal practice with quite frustrating results, and then the quality of the practice has to improve, and can, or at least our understanding of what practice is expands. There's a kind of law of accumulating returns. We begin to see that actually a lot of things which we'd formerly thought as being obstructive to practice are surprisingly and gratifyingly actually part of it. It's just that we didn't have a quite full grasp of what it is we're trying to do. A good example, I think, not just for monastics, but for people in the world, or everybody, in other words, is patience, patient endurance. And it seems that in countries which are materially prosperous, that there comes to be an idea that somehow patient endurance is a thing of the past, or that one has a right not to have to put up with things that one doesn't like anymore, because you have money, because you live in a wealthy country, and the resulting weakness and indulgence that comes about is not just because people lose the faculty of patient endurance, but because they have no faith in it. They don't see any point in it. You see, they don't have the view that patient endurance is a great gift. It's a wonderful thing to be cultivated. It's a wonderful possession. It's a noble possession of a human being. Example often give in Thai talks is of some study a couple of years ago now, comparing use of morphine by cancer patients in America with those in Hanoi in Vietnam. It turned out that the American patients with the same age group, same kind of cancer, same kind of symptoms, were using something like 10 or 20 times as much morphine as the people in Vietnam, and still complained that they weren't getting enough pain relief. Because once you feel that you're paying money and you have a right to pain relief, and that pain is wrong, then you lose your ability to endure. You don't want to endure. Why should you? And in practice, or particularly in the forest monasteries, then particularly my generation, we just got this word patient endurance just drummed into us almost every day. I mean, just endless Dhamma talks about this subject. And apart from anything else, it became something that you aspired to. You aspired to patience. You aspired to endurance. And I mean, sometimes this went a bit too far. You get a lot of young men inspired with the idea of patient endurance, and you get competition and people trying to show off a bit and trying to prove how tough they are sometimes. But that doesn't mean that it's not correct. You can't, it's obviously unfair to criticize a teaching or an idea through the wrong grasp of it by certain people. And you can see what a revolution it can make in your practice, where you identify certain Dhammas as things which are wholesome, that is, they are conducive towards freedom, they are conducive towards enlightenment, and from that coming the aspiration to develop them. You can see how your whole universe just changes, I mean, dramatically, at the moment when you have as an ideal the development of the patient endurance of unpleasant sensations, physical, mental. The ability to abide with that which one doesn't like. You see, the common sense way is, well, why put up with something that you don't like? Waste of time. Go and look for something that you like. Enjoy it. Life's short. Eat, drink, and be merry between dawn and 12 o'clock. I mean, have it. Why put up with things? This is a question. Why should we put up with what we don't like? What's the point? I mean, many people say there's no point, if you can get away with it. But this is why the Buddhist teaching goes against the stream. It says the point is that quality, that ability to patiently, calmly abide with the unpleasant is a wonderful jewel of the mind. And of course, as the Buddha says in the Awadapatimokkha as well, it is the supreme incinerator of defilements. So if you don't have that patient endurance in that initial onslaught of Vedana, of unpleasant sensation, then you're completely overwhelmed before the troops can get there. Before the cavalry, as the sati, can get there, you've already lost it. What you need, the initial push from defilement, is that ability just to stand firm. I mean, unless you've got really well-developed sati, that when you're caught off guard, when suddenly something, some physical pain or some very unpleasant experience arises, someone abuses you or treats you very, very badly, completely out of the blue. At that moment, sati's nowhere there, maybe. But when you've got that patient endurance, it's just to be able to bear with things. And the more you see how much grows from patient endurance, then the more faith you have in it, and the more willingness you are to put up with things. And of course, we couldn't have a better teacher of this than Ajahn Chah, and I've recounted to you many times before, I think, that when Ajahn Chah was having these incredible battles with sexual desire as a young monk, and his practice at that time was really a battle. There's no other way to talk about it, and all that kind of martial imagery that the teachers talk about, quite appropriate and apt for that time in this practice. And these very strong, obscene, erotic visions, hallucinations for 7 days or 10 days, day and night. And eventually it subsided. And I'm always impressed that Ajahn Chah asked him, Ajahn Pasno asked Ajahn Chah once, well, what skillful means did you use to deal with this? And this incredible kind of attack of lust and sexual desire. He said, nothing special, I just endured. If you have patient endurance, you're fearless, aren't you? Where does fear come? Well, what is fear of? Usually fear is of pain, isn't it? Fear of suffering, either physical or mental. We remember past pain and project it into the future, and we feel vulnerable towards that pain, and we feel afraid. But when you've endured through things, when you know you can stick with something, even though every part of your body is screaming out, I don't want to do this, but you do it anyway. You've been through something like that. You have just such confidence and such strength in your mind. There's one part of you is still saying, no, I can't, I won't. But there's another part, and it's a much more reliable part, that says, well, you've done it before, haven't you? You've done it before, why can't you do it again? This is where you get this firmness in practice, and this continuity, and this ability to practice in this way that Ajahn Chah said, when you're diligent, when you feel enthusiastic, you practice, and when you feel lazy, you practice. You don't give any importance, you don't give weight to your emotional reactions, your views and opinions about it. You just do it. Once you've decided that it's worth doing, you do it. Come what may, hell or high water. And I think many people mention to me how impressed they were by the words of Ajahn Kawesako in the Dhamma talk he gave before you went into Dhammas, when he was talking about just taking on a practice, say, like staying up all night on one prat, and then whatever comes, whether you've been superstitious kind of thing, because the wisdom comes when you decide on the practice in the first place, whether it's appropriate or not appropriate. But once you've made that decision, the die is cast, and you do it. And when I myself, I found that when I arrived in Thailand, I'd made this decision to stay here 5 years, come what may. Even if I didn't know where I was going to go, I wasn't really sure I was going to come here, and the life of a monk and just how it was going to work out for me was all very hazy.
Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Buddhaṃ Dhammāṃ Saṅghāṃ Namāsāmi.